Welcome to the after party with MEDITECH Helen Waters, VP of MEDITECH. So if anyone's watching live, we have 76 live viewers, so there's a number of you. It looks like a lot of them are watching through the website rather than the Blab platform, so they may have to sign in if they want to join us, and I think to chat you have to as well.
Okay.
But yeah, anyone watching live, there are a few open seats. If someone wants to hop on and ask some questions, we certainly welcome you to do that. Otherwise, I have a few more questions for Helen, and we'll keep it short if no one else wants to hop in. If you don't want to hop on video camera, you can also submit your questions in the chat area. All you do is do /Q space and then add a question. We're happy to entertain those questions. This is recorded, Helen, just so you know as well. We may or may not post it. We'll see how it goes. But the after party is always the more casual. You can let your hair down,
All right. It's Friday afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'd be interested, while people think about if they want to ask you something specifically, I'd be interested to hear what you're doing around the changing reimbursement landscape. I mean, it's such a massive change that's occurring in healthcare right now, from the shift from fee-for-service to the value-based care. And ACOs are, I guess, part of that same trend. What are you seeing from your customers, and what are they requiring of you?
Well, in general, we have seen a total shift in the narrative around that. What we've been busily working on is delivering more strategic tools to our customers. So as we think about readmissions, as we think about hospital-acquired conditions, as we think about the new bundled payment and what metrics will be used to judge the outcomes around the patient's condition, and the one that was just really put forth in November, the bundle for the joint bundled payment for continuity of care. It even goes beyond the acute stay for 90 days in terms of how folks will be reimbursed for that. So we've been busy delivering best practices, as I mentioned, delivering the content so that it accommodates the outcome to reduce readmissions effectively, to make sure that care is integrated and tied together, that people are using actionable surveillance and status boards to be ahead of conditions, to ensure the patient's tracking and trending in the right direction. There's a lot of proactive communication across caregivers. We've seen a lot of utilization of the toolkits that we have put forth for our customers to ensure that they're dealing with hospital-acquired conditions and deploying metrics and capabilities and notifications and early warning detection system for our customers clinically in advance. And obviously, we've made a number of changes on the back end of the system as it relates to engaging with the patient around the initial point of scheduling for appointments and coming into the facility, to the back-end revenue cycle side, and the ability clearly to take all that data and visualize it, analyze it, drill deep into it from the analytics perspective. We have spent a lot of time and energy releasing a strong business and clinical analytic tool.
Yeah, I mean, as I've thought a lot about the future of it, it's been interesting to think that I think there's two heads to the changes. One is you need to understand your patients, which is the analytics and the data, understanding which patients to focus on, when to focus on them, all of that, those things, right? And then the second side is how do you engage the patient once you've identified that this is someone that's at risk or that this is someone who needs a little extra care.
Right.
Yeah.
So many unique ways to do that, but you're absolutely right. You have to identify who they are, how well they're doing, and who's on your watch list and for what reason they're on there. And then you have multiple mechanisms to figure out how to reach out to them, to keep them on the right track, to engage them to come in. And for us, that's all done very electronically and in a contemporary way through the communication and the push to their own personal portal, to their ability to communicate with their physician through that portal, to easily schedule an appointment through the portal, to communicate, as I mentioned earlier, some of the personal generated health data to confirm any of the suspicions around the condition of the patient, and obviously easily be able to conduct a visit to a physician and or an e-visit and have all that documented for the patient. So I think today it's all about patient convenience. I think those expectations are growing significantly, and in the busyness of life, they want to be able to get in, be seen, be treated, and ultimately get well again. And the healthcare organizations that are focused on that, we think are obviously the more progressive and the ones that will continue to do well. And our systems need to support and enable that ease of connection, that consumer-based mindset, really, which is different than just a patient-based mindset.
It is. It's taking it to the next level, right? That's interesting. You used to think if I just provided quality care, that was enough, but right. It's not enough today. It has to be convenient as well.
Yeah. And there's other factors, you have to market. Remember, the patients and the consumers of healthcare today, they're more involved and engaged due to their own personal investments in their healthcare. Those sure. Expectations have shifted. They'll continue to shift. They have access to more information than ever. They're a generation that's growing in their knowledge and their expectation. So progressive healthcare organizations will market, I think, effectively to them, but also engage with them regularly and appropriately, and make getting care from them very easy and seamless and conducive to the lifestyles that people are leading today, which is all around convenience.
Yeah, excellent. Anyone watching live, there's some open seats if you want to join in and talk with us, share your own insights and perspectives, ask questions. Also, it looks like there's some questions coming in, but I wanted to actually before we hit those other questions, you've mentioned telemedicine a few times, and I think that's one of those ways to engage the patient in a more convenient way. Are you guys building your own telemedicine platform, or are you partnering with others, or how are you approaching that?
So we are really partnering with others in the form of the actual devices and things that connect, but we have built the infrastructure and the platform to be able to really connect with the patient. I mentioned earlier that we have an integrated electronic health record that really goes beyond acute and ambulatory. Mm-hmm. There are components to it that are focused very exclusively on long-term care, on home care environment, and within home care and post-acute care services, rehab, and behavioral. We have the ability to have links to the patient, to their home, to the ability to capture and look at information on a regular basis. We certainly see more and more care over time shifting to not just an ambulatory environment, but ultimately back to the home, as we've already been witnessing over the last several years. So we're supporting an integrated telehealth approach in terms of the software and connecting appropriately to partners and devices that are out there. So we're excited to be building both, but continuing to keep a focus on one comprehensive database of electronic health record, regardless of where the patient enters or exits the system, because they're always in the system, the healthcare system.
Yeah. Well, it's going to happen. There's certainly issues with telemedicine, not the least of which is reimbursement, and not the least of which is regulations around licensing of doctors and whatnot. But the demand is going to be there. I know I'm on I live what you talked about as far as the high deductible plan and being more selective in how I choose and where I choose and how I approach healthcare. Welcome, Joe Lavelle. He joined us. He runs a podcast of his own called Intrepid Now, I think is his company. So, Joe, welcome. Anything you want to add to this, or any questions you have for our guests?
I do, and I'm particularly interested in telemedicine. We the end of last year, really focused on telemedicine. We interviewed over 40 companies on telemedicine on our show, and I learned quite a bit. One of the things I learned is, well, I guess I'm a little scared that the people that are succeeding in cash-based telemedicine that's disintegrated from the health systems. So they're creating business models because they need their investors to make money that are only cash-based, because, John, as you mentioned, we're still having regulatory problems and reimbursement issues, where the ones that are succeeding in $49 visits and $78 visits that people will pay cash for convenience. And I'd be interested in your perspective, as you have to integrate with both of those type of vendors, and then vendors who are coming from more of the health system, the integrated approach.
Yeah, good afternoon, Joe. We actually have pretty much stayed focused on the health system side of this. We do see the market moving pretty quickly in the formation of options beyond natural health systems. There's been a lot of growth in that space for telemedicine, and the ability to have telehealth and off-site locations that are dealing with certain levels of care. Our main emphasis has been in supporting our customers, many of whom, by the way, are diversifying back to the concept of convenience of care, to urgent care, to different hours, to be sure that work helps support their objectives to keep as many of those patients in the ecosystem of the health system as a whole, so that we continue to build a very deep and robust clinical record that's comprehensive. So we have not done as much work with outside standalone cash-based vendors. We've been pretty focused in our existing customer base, supporting our customers who are also expanding their reach in terms of that same area.
Yeah, and I think we could see the trend of what's happening there, like UPMC, what was it, $35 telemedicine visits? Although they're kind of in a unique position because they're the hospital system and they're the payer, and it's like their own, so yeah, they can work on different business models.
I mean, we do have customers that will take cash, that will offer the service, and that want the ability to be able to keep that patient connected to them and to do visits regardless of where they are, or if they've been seen in their system before or not. And I think as health systems and facilities figure out where the newest trends are, people are looking for access to care conveniently, reasonably priced, that enable them to be seen and be on their path to getting well. And in many instances, the existing health systems have not always afforded that to be the case. I think some of the more progressive organizations are doing that now and realizing that there is a market out there for sure for that.
And many of your customers are those community hospitals that don't have budget for anything. And so, but they still, their customers are still demanding that type of personalization and convenience. So Right.
So I think many are expanding their hours, they're expanding their locations, they're making it convenient to walk in, they're making it convenient to be able to pay on their own without involving their insurer. I think there's a lot of creativity happening out there.
Yeah, that's great. Anything else, Joe?
No, I just want to pop in and say hi. Appreciate it, John.
Thanks for coming, Joe. I think telemedicine is huge. I think that's all part of the overall theme of patient engagement that, I think is going to be a popular topic at HIMSS. I know you guys are going to be at HIMSS. What do you think is going to, be the main subject for you at HIMSS and at the show in general? Any thoughts there?
Well, I think we talked about a lot of the main themes at the show. Certainly interoperability will continue to be a dominant conversation, population health. The ability around usability in our marketplace continues to get a lot of emphasis. For us personally, we're excited to have our customers and obviously interested prospects come to the booth, see the power and the potential of the web-based electronic health record, what that means for them in terms of the physician experience, what kind of productivity we really believe it will enable, and how much further we think it takes the core need for enhancing the patient and physician relationship to a deeper level on technology that's, like I said, commensurate with every other aspect of their life. So we're excited to have people there to talk about how we believe we're raising the bar on integrated, high-quality, cost-effective EHR solutions.
Excellent. I'll be sure to find you there. So at TJ Temple asked a question, does Helen have a ballpark estimate when all modules will be coded for the web? Any thoughts on timelines or,
Yeah, so we have, as I mentioned, we've completed the web ambulatory solution. In 2016 is our completion for the acute and ED components of that for the physicians. All of our software, as we head toward the end of 2016, will be accessible through a browser and in a mobile environment, so that we don't require some of the older, heavier lifts of tools and technology connections to get there. So 2016 is our big year of coming out relative to the web-based platform. And we're incredibly excited about that, both from the usability factor, from the cost implication factor for our customers, and from the standpoint of recognizing that this is a very new, different, and evolved MEDITECH interested in transforming healthcare.
Well, I think you're also dealing with a bunch of evolved CIOs, right? I remember, I'll never forget this hospital CIO at a CIO conference I went to who said, well, yeah, we do the cloud. We have to, but I don't like it. It was, their mindset.
Yes, and I would just potentially close by saying, Our blessing has been our customer base and our legacy platform. And to some extent, there's a curse element to anything that's a blessing, right? Because we have had to transition lots of mindsets in the marketplace, clearly, as you're appropriately challenging me, within our customer base, which is good to do. We've seen and witnessed a massive shift in terms of the tenure and the longevity of CIOs and the C-suite. We've had to busily, not necessarily make explanations for legacy platforms in terms of magic, because we're proud of all that it was accomplishing. But we very much want the marketplace, our customers, to see us through the lens of today's MEDITECH and today's solutions. So we're absolutely right when you say that we've had enormous transition in some of those discussions with our CIO customers and with a lot of our historical legacy customers. It's time to move. It's exciting to move, and the world is looking for more. Certainly the physicians are looking for more, and I think ultimately the patients are. So we're excited to be talking about this new paradigm.
That's great. And I think the perfect way to end the after party is a question from Liz Carroll. She said, what should people think of when they think of MEDITECH?
Oh boy. So I would say think of us as a tremendously strong, viable partner in healthcare. Remember that we have seen and witnessed transitions in this industry for decades, and we have successfully navigated and moved through with them. And remember, I guess the three words I mentioned earlier: integration, innovation, and value. And ask this vendor community, us included, to work hard for your healthcare dollar and dig deep. We have an exciting platform, and we have a robust, rich content clinical platform. We want to talk more about it with the industry and with the marketplace.
Excellent. Well, I'll end with a quote I found that I think goes really well with what you said. It's from Howard Messing, the MEDITECH president and CEO. He said, the original EHR mindset was to guarantee no loss of productivity. That's not good enough. Technology must make you more productive. I thought that was a really great perspective and a great way to think about how can we move this industry forward. We do need to be more than just no loss of productivity. We need it to be more effective. And I think that's what you're going at with value, with innovation, and with integrations. Thank you so much, Helen, for joining me. This was a great discussion. Again, we're here with Helen Waters, MEDITECH's Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I'm John Lynn, the founder of healthcarescene.com. You can find the recorded version on healthcarescene.com on the network of sites. We posted at ehrvideos.com, on our YouTube channel. We basically spread it everywhere. I mean, you know us on social media, on our blogs. That's just what we do. So thank you so much for joining me, Helen.
John, nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Take care.